But now, whatever. Let me get into the damn episode. The kickoff. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. The kickoff. NCAA is actually thinking about letting players, they're not saying they're going to do, they're thinking about allowing players to get endorsements. Now, one of the first questions I thought about when this came up was, why now? I think we all know the answer to that. But there's still a question in my head, why now? They could have done this a long time ago. This has been talked about by many, the athletes, parents, friends, people who just are fans of sports in general. They want to know, these players should be compensated for the time because it's a full-time job. Now, before I get into the actual, the meat and potatoes of this section, there are different opinions on whether student athletes should be getting paid. And obviously, when we talk about student athletes getting paid, we're talking about the revenue generating sports, which happen to be men and women's basketball and football. That's pretty much it. Maybe baseball to a lesser degree, but the major generating revenue sports are football and basketball. And you have people that say, well, they have, the scholarship athletes are tuition free. So, now they get to graduate with no debt, which I understand that argument too. Because if you could get through college and have no debt, obviously you're at an advantage to others that have student loan debt and all this other thing just to get through college. I understand that as well. But you have players, basically it's a full-time job to play this sport. Not only that, the school's making millions of dollars off of these players with TV contracts, endorsement deals, and everything. I mean, the players should be seeing a piece of that, right? Schools are selling their jerseys, but taking the names off the back. The students and the family and the fans are buying these jerseys with their number on it, knowing that they're buying it for a specific player. But the player does not get any revenue that goes towards that all of that goes towards the school. Now, is that fair? I don't think so. Again, people have different opinions, and I'm willing to have a discussion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But anyways, why now? So of course, there's a reason as to why the NCAA is actually coming out saying they're thinking about allowing this to occur. Now, one of the things is the NBA G League. If you guys haven't known, a couple of the major high school recruits, so the number one player in the country coming out next year, I believe it's 2021, so his name is Jalen Green, and another top player from that class, Isaiah Todd, have both stated that they are not going to go to college and they're going to go straight to the G League. Now, why is this going to happen? So Jalen Green, there's a little bit more information on him. As for Isaiah Todd, I don't have that information with me, but Jalen Green, they're saying his deal could potentially be up to $500,000 with the G League, as well as him being able to get endorsement deals. That's big time over college. Obviously, you don't have to go through the NCAA ruling, the bylaws, the clearinghouse, all of that stuff. You could completely skip over that and start making money immediately after high school. That's big time. Now, obviously, the negative to that is you don't get the college experience. When it comes to G League games and college games, you could argue that college games are more intense, just because the fan base is more, there's more association with the fan base in the actual school, like a college school, than fans with a G League team. And again, I could be wrong. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's very intense when you're playing college ball because you have students that are into the game. You have, alums that are into the game that used to go to that school and are rooting on their program big time. So, college games are big time. So, I mean, that's one reason why the NCAA is thinking about it. Another one is players have been doing this for a while. Some of the top prospects have been going overseas to play international ball. The latest, LaMelo Ball, who could potentially be a top 3, top 5 pick in this upcoming NBA draft. He went to Australia to play basketball, and him and his manager made a great decision as far as purchasing the team that he played for. And now let me tell you, this is a good business decision because him and his manager have identified a path as it's going to get more and more popular if the NCAA doesn't fix their rules, that players are going to just skip college, especially for basketball. They're just going to go right back past college, go to G League, go international, get paid, get their endorsement deals, and go to the NBA. They're starting to realize that these players make college basketball. So if all the top draws don't go to college, then those college programs, the NCAA, March Madness is not as big as it could have been. Like, imagine if Zion Williamson decided to play overseas or play in the G League. Then Duke still might have some viewership, but Zion was definitely putting butts into the seats and having people watch the games, even if they didn't like Duke or didn't watch Duke games or didn't watch college games, period. They heard about Zion. And it's like, okay, we need to watch this guy. So if you have all your top recruits from high school going G League or international, that could definitely be an issue. And then when it comes to the NBA or the NFL or football, should I say, because your major revenue generating sports in schools are football and basketball. Football, now we had the XFL and the AAF. Obviously, the AAF failed because of the hockey owner that took majority ownership and then decided that, I knew that we're going to lose money, but I didn't think we're going to lose this much money. And they were like right before the playoffs. I mean, you can't expect that type of league to make so much money, within the first season. It's a growing process. And then obviously for you guys that know the story, the hockey owner pulled his funding and the AAF pretty much dissolved, and it was pretty bad. As far as the XFL, and I've discussed this, I believe 2 episodes ago, they just have bad luck. The XFL just has bad luck, and this time their bad luck was the COVID-19 issue and them not being able to play games, because people were actually liking what they were seeing with the XFL. And the reason why I bring up the XFL is because the XFL actually had players that were in college but decided, and they weren't eligible to enter the NFL draft, but they decided to go to the XFL to play a season or more potentially. And a couple of those guys got drafted in this previous draft. So I don't think this is the last that we've seen from spring football leagues. I think that it's going to keep occurring until one sticks. But spring football leagues, professional, those are, especially something like the XFL, obviously they're not going to do it again, but if something comes out like that again where college or high school players might potentially be able to join that type of league and get paid rather than go to college, that might pose as a threat to some of the football programs that are out there. Because again, if you get paid out of high school, what's the point of going to college where some of these guys don't really, I don't want to say they don't worry about the degree portion, but they're trying to, build their skill set to get to the NFL. Their first priority is NFL. Again, some guys might go over there, get the scholarship for free education. That's fine. But again, there's a lot of the top guys as well. They just want to go in there, get their 3 years in, and leave. And again, there's nothing wrong with either side, because everyone has a goal. And, why be a student if you're trying to be a professional athlete? Again, that's my opinion. That might ruffle some feathers, but that's my opinion. But anyways, I want to get into this article I found on ESPN by Dan Murphy. He talks about, so his quote here says, the NCAA's top governing body said Wednesday, last week, that it supports a proposal to allow college athletes to sign endorsement contracts and receive payment for other work, provided that the schools they attend are not involved in any of the payments. Now, here's my issue with that. Number one, okay, I understand why you don't want the school to be involved in any of the payments, but here's the contradiction. Everybody knows that these schools have their own endorsement deal. So, for example, let's say Alabama, and I think they're a Nike school. Let's say Alabama, a Nike school, heavily involved in the Nike they have a whole bunch of reps from Nike, but their number one prospect, say the number one player out of high school, wants to sign with Adidas. You could see the conflict of interest there, especially if the player wants to wear Adidas shoes, Adidas hat, all that stuff during the game when Alabama is sponsored by Nike. Again, this is these are issues that, again, obviously they're in the beginning stages of this. Again, they're talking about supporting a proposal. So that means a proposal is not even officially approved yet. They're still in the preliminary stages of actually coming up with an idea of how this is going to work. But again, this right here, there's always going to be a conflict of interest when it comes to endorsement deals and the players, because schools are going to try to push their players to the endorsement that they have of their school. Example, Nike. Again, if Alabama is like, hey, they're recruiting a player from high school and say, hey, we know some Nike reps that, might be able to give you a sweet deal, or, you might want to check them out. They do well for us. That could pressure a kid into signing a certain, endorsement deal with a certain company that they had no intention of signing. And I don't want to pick on Alabama. I'm not saying Alabama does any of that stuff now or anything like that. But again, you can see where the issues may lie. Now, going a little further into this article, he also states that the NCAA's news release says athletes will be allowed to appear in advertisements and can reference their sport and school, but will not be able to use their school logos or branding in those advertisements. So you could be in an advertisement referencing your school and sport, but you can't wear the school's logo branding in the advertisement. All right. All right. That doesn't make any sense at all. If you could mention the school and mention the sport, then what the hell's the difference from wearing the school logo and branding? Obviously, the school, when it comes to advertisements, you see a lot of advertisements now with professional athletes. Even if they're signed with a team, they'll do advertisements with, say jerseys that don't have a team logo on it, because number one, players can get traded at any time. So you still want the ad to work as the player progresses through their career, but also at the same time, you don't want to have a school's brand, say, associated with, maybe a student athlete that eventually goes pro that, ends up doing something of harm, as far as like just bad character. And again, hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's unfortunately it happens more often than we would like. And then the last quote I got from this article, so it says, and this one's a long one, so bear with me. So it says, California become the first state to pass the fair pay to play law in September. So last September in 2019. So Nancy Skinner, a Berkeley-based state senator, wrote a bill which says the college in her state cannot punish an athlete who accepts endorsement money from a third party or hires an agent to try to profit from his or her popularity. More than 24 other states introduced similar legislation in the wake of California's law, which is scheduled to go into effect in 2023. So again, this is another reason why the NCAA is trying to get ahead of it. Again, they have always been no pay. As soon as you get paid, you're not an amateur anymore, you're a professional. But states are starting to go against what the NCAA has ruled. They have rules in their bylaws. So if the states are going against it, the NCAA is not going to say, okay, well, all California schools are, out of the NCAA. We're not going to, recognize you as, D1 or whatever. NCAA is not going to say all California schools are out just because the California decided to pass a bill, the Pay to Play Act. So again, that's major colleges, US or USC, UCLA, Stanford, Oregon, all of these schools, basketball, football, whatever, that are making NCAA money. Why would the NCAA want to remove them and not recognize them if the state is saying that it is okay to get paid, when currently the NCAA's bylaws is if you get paid, again, I don't know the specifics of the bylaws as far as how much you can get paid or what you could get, but let's just say if you get paid, $1 million, then you're no longer a amateur, you're a professional, and you're not eligible for play. So again, obviously the NCAA is more reactive than proactive, and it's unfortunate. You see that a lot. And I mean, number one, the NCAA is a nonprofit organization, which that in itself is already, a whole other discussion, but they see the writing on the wall and they have to adjust so they could keep up with what the NBA and potentially what future spring football leagues will do in the future. So NCAA, get that together and, do something. These athletes should have been getting paid. And, the fact that you're dragging your feet and trying to find proposals and thinking of stuff now, you should have been thinking about this years ago. You're already behind the ball. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for more fire sports takes. And for those of you who are on the go, make sure you subscribe to our full show, which airs every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a bunch more. Until then, I'm chucking it up, and I'll see you guys next time.